The day didn't go well. The hunt was a failure, and my feet ached as if invisible hands were twisting them, making it feel like my bones would snap at any moment. Mike and I were both out of sorts today, but I was happy nonetheless. It was my first day off in 6 months, and I was spending it with a friend, out hunting. What could be better? Sure, we didn't shoot anything, but that wasn't the point. The important thing was the peace, the quiet, and good company. Even the exhaustion felt pleasant. John, look, we've arrived. This is the very riverbank I told you about. This place is just right. Go down the river, and you'll reach the house. You probably won't be able to walk the whole way. More likely you'll have to swim, but it's a good landmark. For me, it's even more than a landmark. By the way, Mike, you never told me what happened to you. You called, said something, but I didn't understand. Oh, right, he said, pushing through the bushes as we reached the riverbank. Something happened, John, right here by this river, though not at this exact spot. Only the river knows the secret. Long story short, I killed a man. He stopped and looked me in the eye. You understand? You killed someone? But who and why? A local guy. The reason, well, you're my friend, so I'll tell you, but I barely remember it. I know it sounds crazy, but I never liked the guy. He was always a slippery character, and I had a few issues with him. He used to hit on my girlfriend, said things he shouldn't, always pushing the limits, but never crossing them. I never meant to kill him. It happened by accident. I was drunk and angry, and he was coming across the bridge. We met, things got heated, and I hit him. He fell and hit his head on the bridge. There was no one around, as if on purpose. At first I tried to play dumb, dragged him to the bank, thought I'd say I found him there. But then I realized the police would figure it out, so the river took him away. How did it feel, I asked, unpacking and setting up the tent while Mike worked on the fire. At first, nothing. You think he'll just get up and annoy you again like always. Then it hits you. You realize what you've done and that you need to do something with the body before you get caught. Later, at home, it really hit me for about 10 minutes. I started to panic, thinking everyone knew I'd killed someone. I wanted to call someone, to tell them. I even called you, but then thought better of it. Eventually, it passed. I really wanted to tell someone, but around here, you can't even fart without everyone knowing. But nobody saw, and the body was never found. I'm glad about that. It happens. You took it calmly. What was I supposed to do? Take my pants off and run around screaming? We're 19. We've seen worse. You didn't mean to kill him. I've seen people die in front of everyone, and nobody helped. I saw a girl collapse in a store, and people just stepped over her. Sure, someone called an ambulance, but I doubt it helped. What you did was bad, but not the worst. It's scarier when everyone sees and nobody cares. You're right, but I needed to share it. It's hard to keep it inside. That's what friends are for, I said, pitching the tent. 30 minutes later, the tent was up, food was cooking over the fire, the rifle was nearby, and we were sipping from a flask, discussing life. Dusk turned to night. Sometimes a fish would jump in the river, making me wish we were fishing instead of hunting. We talked about the past and the future, remembering who had died, who had been born. There was something magical about sitting by the fire in the woods by the river, where you could talk about anything and no one would hear. It's quiet here, I said, looking at the dark sky. Yeah, it is. But Do you know why? No? Why? It's not the place. It's the people. Or rather, one person who used to live here long ago, before my dad was born. There's a story about a man who lived in our town. He seemed normal, but started to lose his mind. He'd go hunting for months, then moved into the woods. Other hunters said he changed, became something terrifying. They called him Frost, not because of the cold, but because he'd chill you to the bone. He built himself a cabin and lived there for years. Hunters would visit and see how he was changing. At first, he said he was tired of the bustle and loved the forest. But over the years, he spoke less and less, his gaze heavy as a gravestone. He turned into a real monster. The last time anyone saw him, he was huge, his face twisted with anger, mold growing on his sweater. He ate raw meat, said he couldn't eat cooked food anymore, and wondered what human flesh tasted like. After that, no one saw him again, but people started disappearing. They say Frost comes at night, calls your name in your own voice or the voice of someone you know. If you answer, he takes you, not kills, but takes you. Some say you shouldn't speak at all when he's near. They say he's huge, carries a sack, and collects people. I've seen the tracks myself. People just vanish. That's why it's so quiet here. People pass through in silence, just in case. The beast is said to lurk here. His cabin was across the river, 5 miles upstream. Do I believe it? No. Neither I nor my father ever saw anything. There are strange stories, but I don't believe someone can call your name and take you. It's just a local scare story. As for the disappearances, who knows? There's a lot of strange things in life. It's a little creepy. Why did we come here then? There's plenty of game. It's close to town, and the woods are clear. We could have gone elsewhere, but it's not worth it. So it's just nonsense, I asked, taking the flask. Of course, he said. Just then, a gust of wind made the flames flicker, and it got darker and colder. But a moment later, everything was normal. We sat in silence, looking at each other. You get how this feels? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wash up, Mike said, getting up. Coward, I whispered. But that gust of wind was perfectly timed and gave us both a scare. We'd had a little to drink, just enough to take the edge off. When it got really dark and the conversation died, we started settling in for the night. One of us would sleep while the other kept watch. It was usually a peaceful place. Nothing ever happened here, and animals stayed away from the fire. But that wind felt like a warning. I won't lie, I'm a little spooked too. Maybe we should go home. No, it's better not to walk in the dark. The animals are jumpy at night, and we're tired. We'll stay till morning, then head out along the river. We've camped here before, and nothing ever happened. But maybe tonight one of us should stand guard. I'll take the first shift until 1. You take over until 5. Okay, I said, setting my alarm. I'll wake you up. Sure, but what if you fall asleep? I won't, he said, and I crawled into my sleeping bag. I woke up to my alarm. My friend was nowhere to be seen. The fire had gone out. I turned on my headlamp and looked around. No sign of Mike. I almost called out, but remembered, don't speak or Frost will come. That thought made me shiver. I heard footsteps approaching the tent. I jumped up and shone my light. Nothing but forest. I grabbed my rifle, feeling safer. The woods were silent and menacing in the pale beam of my flashlight. I thought I saw someone duck behind a tree. I needed to get out. I wouldn't survive till dawn. But above all, I had to stay silent. I crouched and hid, terrified. The footsteps came closer. Someone grabbed the edge of the tent and pulled out a stake, making it collapse. I jumped up and fired into the darkness. No one was there, but I thought I saw something slip away into the shadows. I turned and saw a huge shadow lingering, terrifying me. I dropped the rifle and ran along the river. I heard footsteps behind me, matching my pace. The faster I went, the faster it followed. I was terrified of what would happen if it caught me, but every time I looked back, there was nothing. I walked in the water, praying it would leave me alone, remembering the rule: stay silent. But I wanted to scream. The silence pressed down on me like a coffin lid. The darkness, the pale light, our footsteps. There were two of us. The footsteps were right behind me. I heard raspy breathing on my neck. It was right there, just turn around and I'd see it. But I kept walking, losing my mind in the silence. Sometimes I saw animal eyes glowing across the river. Then I heard, almost in my ear, "John, I'm here. Why aren't you looking for me? Why are you running? Don't leave me!" I almost screamed, biting my lip in fear. "John, don't leave your friends. Let's go back to the fire," said someone in Mike's voice. But it wasn't Mike. The voice was empty, like an object speaking. But after that, it felt like the pursuit stopped. Was it over? Had I escaped? I wanted to laugh, but decided to wait until I was far away. I was relieved, walking in silence, and then I saw a campfire ahead. That's why it let me go. Maybe it was afraid of other people. I was so happy it was gone. No one was breathing down my neck, no one crashing through the bushes, and the oppressive feeling of being watched was gone. Even the animals across the river had vanished. I rushed toward the fire, desperate to reach people, maybe warn them. But when I got to the riverbank, I nearly died of shock. It was our camp. The fire was burning. The tent stood on the stone, and there were 2 rifles. I couldn't believe it. I walked up to the fire. Our things were there. I shone my flashlight around and saw something carved into a tree. "John, let's be friends." Someone had cut it with a knife. That was the last straw. I didn't know what to do. Run? I'd already run and ended up back here. Shoot, the thing never showed itself for more than a moment. What should I do? I realized I couldn't escape. It wouldn't let me. But maybe if I waited for dawn, it would leave. I checked my watch. Only an hour had passed, and sunrise was still far away. Why had it brought me back here? Why light the fire? The darkness pressed in, the fire grew dim, and strange sounds filled the night. My hand shook as I shone my flashlight. I thought I saw it dart behind a tree. I turned, but there was nothing. The flashlight flickered, like in a horror movie. "John, after all I told you, are you really going to leave me to die in this rotten forest? Don't leave me here. Join me," it said, from somewhere ahead, but I couldn't see where. I wanted to answer, to ask what it wanted, but I knew it was a trick. I told it my secret, and now it was pointing a rifle at me. "John, put out the fire, drop the rifle, and come with me," it said. The darkness closed in, the flashlight flickered and died. Then the fire went out. I stood frozen in the pitch black. It approached, slowly, and this time I saw its outline. It was close, almost touching the barrel of my rifle. "Well, it's time for us to go. Are you ready?" It whispered in my voice. I stayed silent. I could see it, right there. All I had to do was pull the trigger. I don't know why I didn't shoot. Maybe I couldn't fire at something. pretending to be my friend, or maybe there was no point. I acted illogically, but I just couldn't shoot. I knew it was smiling, though I couldn't see in the dark. It wanted me to shoot. It pressed harder against the rifle. "Come on, you have to decide," it whispered in my voice. "There's much hidden in the dark. I'll show you." I raised the rifle, pressed it to the creature's head, my own head really, put my finger on the trigger. "Come on, let's go to Mike. You can't leave your friends behind." I wanted to shoot, but instead I just tapped it on the forehead with the barrel and nearly screamed in surprise. It hit me on the forehead, but didn't attack further. I started to understand what was happening and lowered the rifle. "All your friendship is worth less than a bar of soap." "Well, fine, if that's how it is," it said in my voice, then turned and left. I stood there, then sat down and lost consciousness. In the morning, I woke up in the camp, in the same spot where I'd sat down the night before. The first thing I did was check my phone and look at myself. There were 2 crescent-shaped marks on my forehead from the rifle barrel. So that's what it wanted. If I'd shot, I would have killed myself. That's why it scared me, why it pushed me toward the rifles, why it brought me back to camp and put both guns in plain sight. It wanted me to shoot at the creature, but I would have shot myself. What kind of forest horror is this? One that can't harm you unless you speak. And what about Mike? He disappeared during the night. Maybe he said something. Anything's possible. I packed up quickly and left the woods. Maybe I managed to escape. Maybe I was lucky. Maybe my mind saved me. But the forest never left me. The darkness started living in my heart after that night. Once or twice a week, it comes to me when I go to bed. When it comes, dreams and reality blur. I hear it call me in my mother's voice, my girlfriend's voice, Mike's voice. Sometimes it sits on my bed and talks for an hour, and I can't wake up. I always see just its outline, like in the woods. It just sits and watches me, smiling. Usually it ends by morning, and I convince myself it was just a nightmare. Maybe my guilt over leaving Mike and the horror combined into this torment. But deep down, I know I'm lying to myself. I know it's not a dream. It comes to me for real. Once I even found a dirty, wet maple leaf in my room. It let me out of the woods, but it never stopped trying to get to me. It will follow me like a shadow all my life, or until my grave, where it will say goodbye, or until it wins. I know that one day I'll just give in, answer it, and it will take me. It has a sack, a big sack. I'm sure that if I end up in it, I'll never get out. And only the fear of that sack keeps me going for now.